Hey, good afternoon, brothers. This is Curtis Robinson. I am the director for the Cersei Stake Young Men's Camp, and I just wanted to do a quick overview. So hopefully this PowerPoint presentation with voiceover works out for you. And if you have any questions, please give me a call at 501-515-4788. And let's proceed. So as you guys can see, we've got the Thunderbird Lodge here. That's the outside of the building with the flagpole and of course the beautiful inside. I can see us doing any number of training events in here. Of course, for inclement weather, this would be a good place to fall back to. But I want you to kind of keep these different images in mind and picture in your mind what you want to do and how we want to really inspire these young men. Okay, so these are the cabins. As you can see, they are enclosed with screen, but they are still semi-open. So in other words, it looks like the wind can blow through there nicely to keep us cool and keep the bugs out. That's the hope. So pretty primitive overall, but better than a tent. And again, you see that there are some bunks in there and a place to sit. We could do some individual quiet time devotional or scripture study or some journal writing in our rooms in the evening. Keep that in mind. So as you can see, there is a small lake with a dock there. Looks like a place where a lifeguard can sit. It's roped off for some swimming, but there's also a little space beyond that where we can float some rafts or do some canoeing if we want to do that. And then to the right, this is the chapel. It's an outdoor chapel. We can have devotionals there. We can also do some instructional things there in the outdoors if we like. There are places to walk and other trails and so forth in and around this area. So I'm not sure how many of you gentlemen went to the trek, but I tell you what, the food made the difference. Not just breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but there were snacks on trek that were just amazing. So we want to do that. We need to have a good logistical plan for cooking. Now, I love to catch some fish and actually cook those fish. It's kind of a self-reliance piece. I'd also like to maybe provide some rabbit or some other things we would find as typical game. We can buy those on the market. Something a little different than just burgers and hot dogs, but burgers and hot dogs still work. We can get as fancy and as cool as we think we can afford, or we can keep it pretty simple. But anyways, this is the dining facility. Okay, so this is obviously pretty self-explanatory. I got this directly off the website for OldKiaKima. This is their calendar. As you can see, we are locked in for June the 20th through the 25th for the boys. And by the way, for anybody that's interested, the girls are the week prior to that. So that's pretty interesting. So every good plan usually should start with a vision. Now, I'm not necessarily the expert, but this is my vision, and we can adjust this vision so it can become our vision. And every participant gains a testimony of their role and expectations as a future leader in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we're going to talk a little bit about the young men's theme relative to that. So my objective within that vision, more specifically, is the participants must be given every opportunity to feel the Spirit. You know, ponder that feeling and clearly understand that they can become a missionary, a husband, a father, and a leader called of God. Right out of the young men's theme, really. And of course, the goal overall, if we define success, it would be as a safe and exciting week of training, devotionals, and fellowship that perpetuates a strong desire to serve and participate in the plan of salvation. Remember that, you know, we've got the fourfold mission of the church, we've got the young men's theme, we've got the entire gospel really to look at as our roadmap. So I hope that this kind of gets you on the same sheet of music that I'm on, but it's also up for discussion. Okay, so I'm not going to read the young men's theme, but I do want to highlight that the first paragraph starts with a work to do. We got to talk about service, right? We definitely want to talk about our commitment to God in the second paragraph, and then faith. Man, everything that we want to do on our schedule, let's talk about faith, repentance, improvement, and do some testimony meetings and so forth, some other than just devotionals. Don't forget that being a husband and a father and a missionary, these three things are goals that every young man can attain. And then ultimately prepare for the atonement and ultimate, returning to be back with God. Our own salvation is important. So let's kind of read that, ponder it, pray about it, and add it at every opportunity to the young men's camp out. All right, so I thought it might be cool to have a 5-day quest, kind of a fantasy adventure theme for our camp in addition to the young men's theme. So imagine a map that we got to find different pieces to build this map. And over 5 days, these are some of the things that I'd like to do. I've already coordinated with Brother Brown in the BB ward, and he's going to help us with a knife blank, so we can build this knife. Each young man can go home with his own knife. I think that'd be really cool. I want to build a sling, just like David and Ammon used in the scriptures, and then ultimately want to build a raft, just like the Jaredites crossed the waters, and of course, just like Nephi and his family crossed the waters. We want to basically build something that we can navigate that lake, and hopefully it will float. But anyways, look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and kind of get a feel for different ways that we can include the gospel and enjoy kind of letting your mind run wild with these ideas. I hope these are good ideas. I hope you like them. I took some time and kind of thought about them and built this presentation, but ultimately, as a team, we have to make something magical happen. We got to occupy each young man's mind and his hands and his heart. If we can do that, I think that we'll have a great camp. So we need a schedule. I just built this one. It's in military time. Forgive me if you don't really like military time, but the bottom line is that we can build a simple schedule with the day and the date, the time, and whatever activity. I plugged in some things like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We need that. And then ultimately, who's going to be responsible for each hour of that day? Now, the YCLs can be really responsible for most of those things. They should be the leaders. These are the 16 and 17-year-olds, and they should be training the young men age 11 plus on up. And then we need to have a goal. Each hour, did we achieve whatever goal we set out to do? And if it's just having fun, man, let's make sure we have fun. And we can do that in a number of ways. If it was to learn a skill, that should be part of the goal. And we should also logistically support this simple schedule with a logistics plan. For example, if we're going to build knives and we're going to build slings to sling stones, well, we need materials to do that. So I've already got some of the things in the works that we can do those things. If we are going to fish, we got to have fishing tackle and fishing rods and so forth, at least a cane pole to do that, for example. Anyways, think about different things that you want to do. Do you want to swim? Do you want to fish? Talk to President Park about maybe having shotgun and rifle as an event. Archery for sure. There's a lot of things that we can do, but we need to build it around the gospel and tie it into our modern times. And then ultimately, again, let's schedule it. Let's logistically support it. And let's assign leaders who understand what they're supposed to do. And then let's train those YCLs as early as possible, before camp, by the way, so that they can be effective. So kind of as an afterthought, I decided to add this slide. It's a duplicate of the last slide, but you might notice the last column is the logistics column. Obviously, for breakfast, we need to have a schedule of what we're going to have, whether it's, something simple as a boil in a bag omelet, which is a camp favorite at almost every scout camp, or if we're going to do burgers and fries for lunch, for example, or if we're just going to do something simple like a sandwich. But then dinner, man, for dinner, I'd love to do something cool every dinner for these boys. It's just 5 meals. I think we can afford it. We're going to find a way to logistically support it. So each of the blanks where we're going to have other activities, let's make sure that, if we need rope and leather to build a sling, that those things are on there. We may even need to have an annex or a separate document that basically talks about all of the costs. Based on the costs of all of our logistical supplies, including the cost of our camp, we're going to determine the price each young man needs to come up with. In other words, just like we're going to go on a mission, we need to plan for the mission. We need to financially resource the mission. We need to get the boys thinking about that. Let's do that with this camp. Let's raise some money. Now, let's say, for example, that for some reason the young man found out late. He didn't have time to really plan, didn't really have time to get money together. Parents maybe don't have the wherewithal to afford it. As a backup plan, the bishop has some resources at his disposal that he can tap into to help. And then, of course, we may raise enough money to help another kid. Again, remember that this doesn't have to be a members-only camp. We can use this as a missionary opportunity. Why not bring one of the kids from the neighborhood who's good friends with your, with one of the members, one of the young men in the Aaronic priesthood? We might also, grab a visiting relative, somebody from out of state that happens to be visiting that particular week during the summer break. So think outside the box. Let's use this as an opportunity to plant seeds for the church. We're always member missionaries, and we should be thinking that way. So we're going to do all of that and make sure that we can fund it financially, support it logistically, and plan it by activity, by date and time. Okay, well, I had a little difficulty, technical difficulty there. So if there's like a bunch of weird stuff, I apologize. Okay, so last slide. Hopefully we've kept this under about 10 or 15 minutes. It shouldn't be too long. Ask yourselves these questions. Who can help teach a skill? This could be a person that that's not even in the church. It could be a church leader. It could be somebody's dad or uncle. Somebody that's good with blacksmithing. I've got some guys in mind. Somebody that's good with fishing. I've got some guys in mind. How about who can help lead a discussion? A good return missionary, or maybe the young men's advisor. Maybe that would be a good person to fall back on. What role should the bishop have? Maybe just a devotional. Maybe they could do more. I don't know. Who else could attend and make an impact? Maybe the patriarch or the stake president. We want to invite those guys and have them come and not everybody knows these guys well. So we need to make sure we do our part to introduce the young men to these individuals who can have an impact. What about fathers? What about other priesthood advisors, coaching wise? Guys, we need feedback, and we will be meeting soon to discuss. So I want you to do the research, do a little homework, think about these things, pray and ponder, and I look forward to meeting with you guys soon. We'll be announcing something probably over email or text message, but I hope you get a chance to watch this little video. I hope it's been helpful.